The Idle No More movement has the people. It has the people and the numbers that can bring the Canadian economy to its knees. It can stop Prime Minister Harper's resource development plan and his billion-dollar plan to develop resources in our ancestral territories. We have the warriors that are standing up now that are willing to go that far.
That's the Manitoba Grand Chief Derek Nepenak earlier today. He's really ramping up the rhetoric in Ottawa today, threatening that what he calls warriors, Idle No More protesters, have the power to cripple Canada's economy if First Nations demands are not met, bring Canada's resource economy to its knees, to use his words. One of those demands, resource development agreements, something that National Chief Sean Atleo also called for at his press conference today. The warning comes on the eve of, well, now a meeting very much in jeopardy between First Nations leaders and the Prime Minister. The Governor-General says he will meet with First Nations leaders tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. But as you just heard, Chief Stan Ludet, who was in the meetings and is one of the critical Grand Chiefs there, alongside Sean Atleo, his community, Attawapiskat falls within his jurisdiction. He just said that's not good enough. He says all chiefs are united that unless the Prime Minister and now the Governor-General are there together for the entire day, the chiefs, he says, again, we're trying to confirm now with Sean Atleo's office, he says, we'll call the meeting off. What's the government's response? Is this meeting falling apart before it even begins? Let's get some perspective. Parliamentary Secretary to the Aboriginal Affairs Minister, Greg Rickford. For sure. Who's supposed to be at the meeting tomorrow if the meeting takes place. NDP Foreign Affairs critic Paul Dewar, he's back, and Aboriginal Affairs critic Carolyn Bennett, who was on Victoria Island today, although you didn't end up meeting with Chief Spence, she wasn't there, but has been down there and met with her yesterday. Greg Rickford, let me just start with you. Grand Chief Stan Ludet literally left the Delta Hotel down the street, where all the chiefs and AFN leader Sean Atleo were meeting, came in here and said, we are now united since the press conference. Our new position is no Prime Minister and Governor-General together throughout the day tomorrow, no meeting. What's your reaction?
Well, what I can confirm, Evan, is that we're looking forward to this opportunity tomorrow. We have a scheduled time slot with an appropriate venue, and we're looking forward to those discussions taking place, and it's our understanding that they will take place. So that's really all that I can add to that.
I also spoke with the spokesperson for Chief Theresa Spence. He said to me, because the Governor-General won't be there together, she will not attend. He also said that she will continue her hunger strike, her hunger action. Right. Obviously, there's debate about the words. So it hasn't satisfied her. What's the government's reaction to that?
Well, our position has been that this is building on a process that was started more than a year and a half ago with the Joint Action Plan from the Minister of Aboriginal Affairs and National Chief Atleo. It culminated in a Crown First Nations gathering last year, almost a year ago. We have continued to put forward pieces of legislation and programs that have certainly worked to improve conditions across First Nations communities. And now we're in a position to have this meeting on two key points that the Assembly of First Nations has put forward to us, namely Aboriginal economic development and treaty matters. So we're looking forward to having those conversations.
Let me just show you what Stan Ludet said, only because this is breaking in the last couple of minutes. Right. Here's what he just said, so we can get everyone on the same table as we try to confirm from Sean Atleo. But the meetings are going on right now, but here's Grand Chief Stan Ludet.
If the Prime Minister's office maintains the position that he wants to have a meeting with himself only, a working meeting, and that there's going to be a ceremonial meeting tomorrow tomorrow evening, that's not a go with the chiefs. We want to meet with the Prime Minister and the Governor-General together.
All right, they're saying that's pretty clear. Why is the Prime Minister on the coordinated schedule only meeting for a half an hour at the beginning, and why only an hour at the end? Why can't he meet the entire time?
Well, I think what you heard National Chief Atleo say in their press release earlier this afternoon and from us is that we still are working out the details on the agenda. It has not been completely finalized, but we have a format here that's going to be exploring two main areas. Aboriginal economic development and, of course, treaty matters. And so we're looking forward to those conversations taking place. We have at least three other cabinet ministers that will be in attendance, either chairing or participating in those conversations. I'm looking forward to being there as well.
All right. I want to get.
I can't confirm what document you're holding.
Well, I'll confirm it. It's from the PMO's office. Okay. It's from Julie
fair.
Vo. It's from your Prime Minister's office.
Yeah.
So the document, the outline of the Prime Minister's schedule comes from the Prime Minister's office. So,
and if both the Assembly of First Nations and we have said that those details have not been finalized. That's the
okay, so the PMO, you're saying it's not been finalized. The PMO sent it out to the media as a finalized document.
Yeah.
So Paul Dewar, things are changing.
Yes.
In light of what Stan Ludet is now telling us, he's just emerged from those meetings. In light of what Chief Teresa Spence is saying, what's your view now on this meeting?
Well, look, this was supposed to be a meeting that was going to reset the relationship. I quoted on your program yesterday, Evan, from the Prime Minister last year, where he said we needed to rebuild the trust and reset the relationship. And my point was yesterday, and it remains today, is that they didn't follow through. So, here's the problem. There's such a chasm between the government and First Nations that the meeting can't even be discussed with trust. And that's the problem right now, is that the government has to be upfront about what this should be about. It should not be about an information meeting, which it sounds like when you bring in the ministers that have been mentioned. It sounds like, well, we're going to update you. That's what it was sounding like before, on all the great things that we're doing as a government.
Well, it doesn't say that. To be fair, it says plenary session to discuss treaty relations.
Yeah, but they were saying before, Evan, this week, and my friend here is quoted in his paper as, we'll update people on what we've been doing. This isn't about a friggin' update from the government. This is about reestablishing, resetting the relationship. Evan, one more thing on this.
I just want to update. I'm just trying to get a fact out here.
Yeah.
The Governor General, this is straight 2 minutes ago from the Prime Minister's office, just updating. So just to give people the very latest, this came in from Andrew McDougall a minute ago. The Governor General announced today he will host a separate ceremonial meeting at Rideau Hall. We will be hosting, this is the word, a working meeting at Langevin.
That's right.
Okay, so that just...
Well, but on whose terms, Evan? My point here is that the government went from, there was absolutely no meeting at all. Let's remember that. This meeting wasn't going to happen until the pressure was put on government, to the point now where they are having to be held to account as to what are we going to actually be discussing here, because First Nations have been burned too many times before. The promise was there last year by the government. It wasn't kept. This isn't, frankly, this is not about partisanship. This is not about whether you're blue or you're orange or you're red. This is about a government nation-to-nation relationship. This government has, frankly, not done their job, and tomorrow is the opportunity to do it. And if they can't even figure out how to get a meeting with First Nations, and that's their role, I believe, then they've got a bigger problem.
I want to get to Carolyn Bennett, but later tonight at 6:30 at Stornoway, NDP leader Tom Mulcair, apparently what I've heard from the NDP is he was talking to Sean Atleo, and then he invited Sean Atleo and then AFN leaders, chiefs, to Stornoway tonight. Why has he not gone? He's asked the Prime Minister to meet with Chief Teresa Spence. Right. He's meeting with Chief Atleo and AFN leaders. Why has he not gone to Victoria Island, as Carolyn Bennett has done, to go meet? And you've done that, of course. And Nicole Trammell, I met her there one day. Why hasn't Tom Mulcair gone down to meet with Chief Spence?
Well, he actually has recently returned. He did invite First Nations leaders there, and that's what Chief Spence was asking when I met with her, was that the message to our leader and the letter that Mr. Mulcair wrote to the Prime Minister was to have the Prime Minister, because he is the Prime Minister, to meet with First Nations leaders. Her ask wasn't come meet me. Her ask was get your leader to talk to the Prime Minister. But it is interesting that he'll meet with Sean Atleo on the other, and you'll meet with her, but he hasn't. But she didn't ask to meet with Tom Mulcair. She asked to meet with the Prime Minister. This is, sometimes I'll be critical, if I may, with the media here. It's not about which person's meeting with which person at which hour. It's about the relationship between First Nations and the government has failed in that relationship. So the ask that people want to see followed up with is the ask by First Nations leadership and, frankly, Ms. Spence, to have the Prime Minister meet with First Nations leaders and not qualify every time they ask for a meeting about whether or not, we see tomorrow that we're going to have the Prime Minister in for how long? An hour and a half out of the afternoon. Why isn't he there for the whole meeting?
All right, so let me just bring in Carolyn Bennett. You were down again at Victoria Island today. What do you make of now Stan Ludet saying, Grand Chief Stan Ludet saying, the chiefs now have, it's not enough that the Prime Minister has held the meeting. It's not enough that he will meet for an hour and a half. They want the entire meeting. It's not enough that the Governor General will meet later. Now they want the Governor General there the whole time. In your view, is that reasonable, or are those beginning to sound like unreasonable demands?
Well, we were hearing on Tuesday, when it was first revealed that the Prime Minister was going to be there for the first half hour and the last half hour of the meeting, already the chiefs were around the fire at Victoria Island saying, what's with this? Where's he going in between? He's supposed to be there to listen to us. There's a view. Why doesn't he just take the meeting? This isn't. Teresa Spence has said it's just a meeting.
But he is meeting. But
no,
I mean, to be fair,
It's not just a meeting, it's an important discussion that the AFN put those specific points forward, and we're meeting on them. We have a great agenda tomorrow.
Opening ceremonies that are all talking at you, and closing ceremonies all talking at you, and listening. This meeting was supposed to be about listening.
And it hasn't even occurred yet, Evan, and this is what we're hearing about. It's time to be positive.
Said from the beginning. But Greg, please.
Go ahead.
This is, why cannot the Prime Minister of this country sit and listen to First Nation leaders for his Friday afternoon tomorrow? Where the hell is he going in between the first half hour and the last hour? He should be there listening.
Right. Okay,
and from the beginning.
I know you're passionate about that. What do you make of Chief Nepinak threatening to bring Canada to its economic knees? What's your reaction to that?
This is a very straightforward reality. Every time the government or a resource extractor doesn't cooperate, they go to court and First Nations win. The natural resources of this country are on First Nations territorial lands. So the point being that they want a conversation now about how we share the resources fairly, as was declared in the treaties in the Royal Proclamation 250 years ago.
Okay, I just for time purposes, Mr. Rickford, the stakes have clearly gone up. Chief Nepinak is threatening a warrior, I'm using his terms, action, bringing Canada to its economic knees. Clearly, whatever the government says about its agenda, they clearly are not satisfied. You get that. Now the meeting is clearly in jeopardy, if what Stan Ludit says, and he's a Grand Chief there. What's your response, government response, to Chief Nepanak's threat?
Well, I appreciate the passion with which he speaks, Evan, and you can appreciate, as a guy who spent most of his life living in First Nations communities, these folks live in Kenora, we're neighbors, many of them are good friends of mine. That kind of language it doesn't need to be added to this. We're staying very positive on a framework
but
that
it does suggest a frustration that the government...
It's passion, but we're going to be sitting down tomorrow and meeting with National Chief Atleo and a delegation of his chiefs. And we'll be having those conversations and building on a number of things that we've moved forward with over the past year and a half. And we're fully prepared to have those conversations. This is a process that has been driven by the Assembly First Nations in terms of having the meeting. The dates aren't any more important than the fact that we're actually having the meeting and we're sitting down and having those discussions.
It's in jeopardy. So is the government
You're
prepared?
saying it's in jeopardy.
No, I'm not.
My
Chief
opposition
Ludit,
colleagues are saying it's in jeopardy. I can't
Chief,
confirm
I know, so
that.
I'm not
But in
saying
fairness, but fairness.
Tough but fairness means that I'm telling you that the spokesperson for Chief Spence is saying she won't attend because of the agenda. Grand Chief Stan Ludit, who's at the meeting and would attend the meeting, is saying that. So
well, we're under every assumption that this meeting is moving forward, and we're looking forward to that.
Would you be prepared to change the agenda to have the Prime Minister there all day or the Governor General there all day? Is that on the table?
This agenda and the substance of the meetings and the format of it has been worked on heartily with the Assembly of First Nations. We have a very cooperative working relationship with their officials in these regards, and we're looking forward to those talking points and the ministers that will be attending both the plenary groups and the more focused discussions on the specific topics.
All right, I got to leave it there. I mean, I know you want to jump in. What's your last word?
Just that if the government can't figure out how to put together a meeting with our First Nations tomorrow, then we're in deeper trouble than we thought. And this is crucial tomorrow that there is a meeting to reset the relationship. Of course, it's not going to solve all the problems, but this is incumbent upon this Prime Minister to live up to his word, to rebuild the trust, and that will be measured on what happens tomorrow.
I got to leave it there. Very critical meeting. If it does happen tomorrow, I know you'll be there at that meeting. We'll be watching it closely. Greg Rickford, and I hope to talk to you after, if there is a meeting. Paul Dewar and Carolyn Bennett as well, who have been, all three of you, been very communicative about it, and I appreciate that. And we're watching this as it rolls forward tomorrow. Thanks, all of you.
Thank you.
We want to hear from you on this, and I know it's been a dizzying day of developments, and it clearly is going to be like that for the next 24 hours. Here's our ballot box question. Will tomorrow's First Nations meetings, and we just don't know if they'll happen, but if they do happen, will they A, decrease tensions? Will they increase tensions? Will they make no difference, or are you just not sure? We're trying to get at what needs to be accomplished. Let us know what you think. Go to the ballot box section of our Facebook page, cbcnews.ca, or you can scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen. That'll zap you instantly to the ballot box. And if you have any comments, and there's so many comments on so many sides of this, I urge